The match between what employers say they want, as you just said, curiosity, adaptability, flexibility, problem solving, and what study abroad alumni tell us they develop is there's incredible overlap. And so I think education abroad can be the bridge between what students are getting from their university classroom experience and what employers want. There has been a lot of attention paid to a disconnect where perhaps employers sometimes feel dissatisfied or are trying to communicate to colleges and universities that this is what they need, right? These are the skills they want students to develop. And we're trying to use data to show that education abroad is that bridge.
Welcome to International Business Today, where we discuss the most critical issues in international business with top academic experts and thought leaders. I'm Paula Caligiuri, a professor in International Business and Strategy Group at Northeastern University's DeMoore McKim School of Business. Today, I'm especially delighted to be joined by Melissa Torres. Melissa is president and CEO of the Forum on Education Abroad, where she has become a globally recognized voice in higher education and international program development. Under her leadership, the Forum has promoted new ways of thinking about the role of global learning in preparing students for today's interconnected world. Melissa, welcome to International Business Today.
Thank you, Paula. It's such a pleasure to be here.
So right out of the gate, Melissa, in a time when to conduct international business, we really just need to be on Zoom from our kitchens. Why education abroad? Why now?
Oh, it is the best way for students to gain a competitive advantage in the job market and to truly be prepared for the global economy. There's no better way for them to do that, to get out of the kitchen, to see the world for themselves, to meet people, to develop a global network, to understand how business is done in other countries. That's all part of the education abroad experience. And I don't think there's any replacement for it.
And it's learning how to build trust and build credibility and communicate with people who are demographically different.
Yes, and work with people who have different opinions and whose life experiences have been very different from their own, to question their own assumptions, to question their own role in the world, and how do they fit into this tremendous global economy. I don't think you can do that from a kitchen or a classroom or a telephone screen. There is no substitute for experiencing the world for yourself and then forming your own opinions and bringing that experience back to their communities and their employers.
You've had a long career in education abroad. So tell us about it. How did you end up in this role?
I ended up in this role, I believe it was because of my combination of experiences. I started my career in management consulting. I have worked on 3 campuses, and I worked for one of the largest education abroad provider organizations. And so joining the Forum has been a remarkable privilege for me. I've been here 7 years now, and so saw the field through the pandemic, through many changes, to a point now where education abroad is back. Students understand they need these experiences. Employers are beginning to understand that the skills and the experiences that they want their employees to have actually are gained through education abroad. And my vantage point, having been in the classroom and leading students abroad, managing 36 centers around the world and dealing with all of the cultural nuances, really prepared me well, I think. And so I can bring those different perspectives and understandings to this role.
And it's such an important role, being the president of the Forum on Education Abroad. So tell us a little bit about the mission for those who don't know it.
Yeah, so the Forum is a 501c3 membership association. And probably our claim to fame, our biggest claim to fame, is that we are recognized by the U.S. Department of Justice and the Federal Trade Commission as being the standards development organization for Ed Abroad. And that really is just a fancy way to say we have the responsibility to set standards. And those standards are everything from health and safety to student development. What should students be learning when they go abroad? How do they know what they're getting into? How their academic credit is going to come back? And we provide dozens of guides and professional development opportunities to help colleges and universities meet those standards. We have about 830 institutional members, the majority of whom are U.S. colleges and universities, but we also have a very healthy contingent of international institutions that are hosting U.S. students or looking to our standards to use with their own partners abroad.
Interesting. So you've been in this a long time. You've seen changes over the years. What are some of the biggest changes?
I think one of the biggest changes that I've seen is the focus on workforce development and bringing in career preparation to the education abroad experience. And that has had multiple benefits. I think it has given students an opportunity to customize and individualize their experience. So we talk about the education abroad bubble, and that's when a group of students from the same institution goes abroad together and basically stays in this little group. It's not ideal for any number of reasons, but primarily because the students don't get the full benefit of being immersed in that cultural environment. But with the onset now of international internships, global co-ops, consulting programs that are done for multinational corporations, students are really able to have a deep dive into the local culture, the local business environment. And I think that's invaluable when they're looking for that first job. In fact, employers tell us, I think it was a recent survey from the University of Maryland, where 96% of employers said they want to grow their international business. They see their business opportunities growing outside the U.S. And what's holding them back is a lack of international experience and cultural agility with their employees.
It's such an important point. So the change over the years has been, primarily the focus on career development, right? And then the focus on more authentic experiences, one where you can deeply connect with people who are host nationals and really understand and test your assumptions about the way the world
Exactly.
works.
And another change that I've seen throughout my career is there's much more focus on sustainability. And so the impact that the field of education abroad has on climate change, but also on local economies and how to make local partnerships sustainable. And there is much more of a reciprocal benefit for the local communities and host institutions, which I don't think was always there, certainly not when I started working in this field 20 years ago. And I think that's a really good positive change.
I remember studying abroad in the 80s, and it was really something that wealthy parents sent their children to go do. I was not one of those wealthy. My parents were not wealthy, but it's changed a lot in that more students now have the ability to have these opportunities. But is there still a risk that it's not accessible enough to have these so they're so career enhancing, as you've mentioned.
Yes.
But are they still accessible?
Oh, absolutely. And what we don't want to have happen is to leave a whole segment of our population behind, because we do see that this experience helps people advance in their careers and develop the skills that they need to be competitive in today's workforce. So if it's only available to a small percentage, and one of the things that hasn't changed, unfortunately, is we're still sending fewer than 4% of U.S. college students abroad.
Wow, is that it?
Mhm.
4%.
Mhm. I mean,
surprising.
we are starting to see numbers grow, but the pandemic set us back tremendously. And the last data we have is from 2022, 2023, where only 2% of students studied abroad.
Wow.
And so I think we are close to the 3 to 4% now. But cost remains an issue. Student debt remains an issue. And we have to do a better job in my field of explaining to employers and to parents why this is important. Because when they're looking at the cost of higher education and you're going to add on a little bit more for an education abroad experience, we have to do a better job of explaining what the return on investment is. And I think that's where the forum has been focusing most of our attention is on that ROI.
Let's talk about that, the ROI. So a parent is out there thinking of sending their child in an education abroad opportunity. Is it worth it? What data are out there that say it is? Yes.
The data that we have says that it is incredibly valuable. In a 2024 survey, 75% of students who engaged in an international internship said that it helped them land their first full-time job after graduation. Another 84% in that same survey said that they used the skills and experience gained on their resume. That was something that they highlighted. 84% of employers say that they are more inclined to hire a student that has international experience than one who doesn't. So if you want that advantage, this is just at the start of their careers. We are currently researching what is the long-term impact on our alumni's careers, because there has not been a lot of research done in that area yet.
And it's so important, I think, the competencies that are really gained from those deep developmental cultural experiences. We know things like curiosity and humility and perspective taking.
The match between what employers say they want, as you just said, curiosity, adaptability, flexibility, problem solving, and what study abroad alumni tell us they develop is there's incredible overlap. And so I think education abroad can be the bridge between what students are getting from their university classroom experience and what employers want. There has been a lot of attention paid to a disconnect where perhaps employers sometimes feel dissatisfied or are trying to communicate to colleges and universities that this is what they need, right? These are the skills they want students to develop. And we're trying to use data to show that education abroad is that bridge, and having that experience that you can only get by getting out of your kitchen or out of your dorm room and into another environment where you are challenged, because people will be challenged when they study abroad, right? No one is going to have the perfect experience. They're going to get lost on the train, or they're going to not know how to order in a restaurant. And those are small things, but they build confidence and problem solving and resilience. And then when you add on top of that the layer of an internship and being by yourself in a work environment where people are speaking a different language, or maybe they speak English, but it's a different version of English, sometimes that's a little trickier because the cultural norms can be quite different, even if the language is the same. But having the opportunity to see that for yourself, to experience, to make mistakes. We are very risk averse, I think, and our students today are maybe a little bit more risk averse than they used to be. I don't know. Maybe that's just my age talking. But to make mistakes and to keep going anyway. and to learn from those mistakes. I mean, those are the stories you're going to be telling 20 years from now, right? Those are the real learning opportunities.
It's the ability to be effective in new, novel contexts. And I think that's what we're seeing, at least in the research, is that we need individuals who are prepared to be able to go into any new novel context, whether it's a new organization, a new profession, a new situation, a new team, and be effective, navigate it, read the environment, and respond as needed. What we're seeing is that these same competencies that make students, that they build during that ed abroad experience are also the ones needed while they're in those contexts.
Yeah, I think there's there are a lot of misconceptions that study abroad is a vacation or a holiday or, students are goofing off. It is the exact opposite. They are learning every moment that they're abroad. And it isn't only for the student who aspires to have a career outside the United States. It's also for the student who's going to stay in their hometown, but who may be working on with a team member who is based somewhere else, right? Maybe their team member is in Africa or Asia or Latin America. If that student has been to that location and understands how work is accomplished in that culture, they have a tremendous advantage, not only for themselves, but in making their company and their community more attractive to businesses. And it is invaluable knowledge to know how to work on a team and to know how to adapt to the needs and the priorities and the work styles of people who are very different from you, even if you're working remotely from your kitchen.
True. And it's not just national culture, it's professional culture, generational cultural differences, right? There's all these different...
all of those things. It's one of the exciting changes in the field of international education is the growth of programs at community colleges. And I can give you a really great example. The community college system in Tennessee takes students to Japan. And why Japan? Well, because Tennessee has a thriving automotive industry.
That's right.
And so they take students and faculty to Japan so that they can learn about cutting edge manufacturing processes and to better prepare to serve the companies that are investing in Tennessee, right? So these students don't necessarily plan to work outside the state, but they may be working for a Japanese-owned company, or they may be working for a U.S. company that is a supplier or is somehow partnering with a Japanese company.
And employers must differentially look at those University of Tennessee students or Tennessee state system students and say, hey, they've had experience in Japan.
That's right. They understand how to work with us and what we're trying to accomplish.
Are you seeing that more broadly, that employers are differentially investing? I think you said that earlier, but is that something more widespread?
And because there was a study done by the University of Maryland's Center for International Business Education and Research. It just came out this month. They do it every 10 years, and they ask employers about international business and opportunities and how they see their business growing. And the employers told the folks at Maryland that we are leaving money on the table, that 53% of the 1,200 companies surveyed said they had missed business opportunities abroad because they didn't have enough people with the skills that they needed, the intercultural skills, the communication skills to take advantage of those opportunities. And they also said that over the next 10 years, they're going to be putting even greater emphasis, particularly at the manager level, in intercultural competence and making sure that they have those skills in their staff to take advantage of growing their businesses, the segment of their business that's done abroad.
That's an important headline. But are students able to articulate when they do have these skills? Are they?
I think that really varies from student to student and program to program. I know that my colleagues who are on the ground in the field talk with students about this all the time. While they're there, when they come back, the career development offices are trying to help students process the skills that they've developed and think about their education abroad experience in that way. I think when a student is in the education abroad environment, they might not be thinking about, oh, I just figured out how to do something new. Okay, I'm developing my adaptability, right? Or I'm increasing my ability to be resilient. So it takes thoughtful programs and debriefing with students to help them understand what skills they've developed that are transferable.
And how to articulate that in an interview and tell their stories.
Right. And so I think they do a good job of representing it in their LinkedIn profiles and on their resumes. What happens, I'm told this by employers, what happens in interviews is students don't necessarily make the connection between how their education abroad experience is a benefit to the particular job for which they're applying today. And I think we can do a better job of helping students figure out what did I learn and how will it help me in a particular situation. Some of the Ed Abroad organizations are actually helping students develop those talking points and those they're providing them with skill assessments before they leave. So that they have that information at the ready. And they may not be, they're probably not in their last year. They may not be doing a job search right away, but having access to that information and knowing when it does come time to develop their resume or prep for those first interviews, oh, I have that skill analysis of what I developed through education abroad. There's still a lot of work to be done in that area.
Yeah. And I think that what I get excited about is the pre-post, like helping students articulate the competencies that they've gained by having them see where they've started and then having them reassess at the end of the experience. Because at least I've seen with my own students, they're like, wow, that really did change. And I sense it and I feel it and I saw it and I can articulate where and how that happened, how that change happened.
That pre and post is so important because sometimes you don't know what you don't know, right? And it's not until a student has gone abroad that they understand, oh, this is what they're talking about. Like when they're talking about adaptability or being comfortable with ambiguity, that's what this means. And so I think those pre and post tests are extremely valuable, and also helping students translate that into why does that make me a better employee? And I also think we can help employers because employers don't necessarily know what questions to ask, and giving them advice or information on these are the skills that students should develop. You should be able to expect that if a student has participated in an international internship or a study abroad program, these are the skills that you should expect that they've developed. And here are some questions that you can ask them. We have an event in October, actually, called the Careers, Internships, and Global Learning Conference. And we are bringing together education abroad professionals and career development professionals and employers to talk about how do these three groups work effectively, or how can they work effectively to focus on student career outcomes. And so if we can help employers know what to ask, and employers can tell us, this is what I want them to develop, and then career development helps with the package and identifying the opportunities for students, I think that is really a trifecta that benefits students and makes the education abroad part of it even more apparent and visible to students and why it's beneficial.
That will be such an important dialogue among those three groups. So help us with that. Tell us about employers. Where are employers in all this?
Oh, employers play a vital role, both in stressing to students that these experiences are important through the questions that they ask in on-campus interviews, but but also in talking to state legislators and federal policymakers, stressing the importance. We need more intercultural competence. And employers have a really strong role to play in helping advocate that these programs be available to every student.
Help us see around the corner a little bit. What's evolving? What do you see coming next for the future of Ed Abroad?
Gosh, there's so much work to do. There are so many opportunities. Business, as you know, is evolving so rapidly. How is AI going to play out in all of this? How do communities around the world engage with AI? Those are things that students can learn and must learn. And so our field is adapting to that. And there are programs popping up everywhere that are focused on AI. I think the other thing that's really important is that we do provide that quantitative analysis of how are we doing? Are the experiences that students having, are they truly impacting their careers? How do we know they're developing these skills that I and my colleagues see them develop and we say that they develop, but we need more data around that. And so the forum has engaged in a campaign to talk more about the impact that education abroad has on careers. And we have 4 different research surveys underway right now. We just conducted what we believe is the largest survey of education abroad alumni ever done. We had over 7,900 alums around the world talk with us about the impact that their experiences had on their careers. Our plan is in the next month, as we analyze the data, is to compare that to what employers have said they need. And as I said earlier, the skill sets, I believe those skill sets will match up, line for line in what employers want and what students are getting from the experience. Another survey that we're focused on is analyzing LinkedIn profiles to show the value that education abroad has for employers. So, for example, do students who study abroad stay with a particular employer longer than their peers? Do they stay in the state where they graduated longer than their peers? Are they advancing more quickly in their careers than their peers who did not study abroad? So we're looking at the value of the experience to employers, but we're also looking at the economic value to the country, and how are students who study abroad doing when it comes to contributing to the economy. So are they earning higher salaries? Are they starting more businesses? That kind of data has never been available before, and we're really excited. We'll be looking at 400 million social media profiles. Wow. And so it will be an incredibly large data set. And then actually drilling down to the state level and showing the economic benefit at the state level that education abroad has. And again, I think this is the kind of data that we all are curious about.
This is a lot of powerful evidence, and hopefully it'll land where the signal on a resume that a student has had an Ed Abroad experience will signal to an employer that these competencies are there and that this is someone they need to be really considering for the future.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That's what we hope. And then it's our job to engage employers and talk about it. And campus leaders and legislators and people who are in a position to bring more opportunities to students. One of the challenges that has not gone away, unfortunately, is accessibility. And there is certainly the financial aspect of, as I mentioned earlier, can I afford to do this? Government programs and government support for education abroad and international experiences has been critical to helping students who otherwise couldn't afford it participate in education abroad. And without that support, I'm not sure that those students are going to participate.
Shame.
And so I don't think we can afford, as a country, I don't think we can afford to not have those students go abroad.
Hopefully data like those you're collecting through the forum will help reinstate those programs.
Yeah. We have to show the value. Hopefully the next time I'm talking to you, we have 10% or 20% or 50% of students who are studying abroad instead of only 3 or 4%. And I think in order for us to achieve that, we're going to need to take a close look at funding sources. It's going to require support from colleges and universities, from the federal government. That's how we're going to be the world-class economy, to continue to be the world-class economy, to be the leaders that America has always been able to rely on. Business isn't done in a vacuum. And so we need support. They say it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to give students these experiences and to supply the workforce that we know our companies need.
I think it's so important. One of the findings in my own research is that universities are kind of running out of opportunities to build these durable soft skills, service learning, internships, but education abroad sort of still has that gold medal for the ability to build things like perspective taking, humility, resilience, curiosity.
Yes, it's what we in education call a high impact practice. And not only does it help students in their careers, but it leads to higher GPAs, higher graduation rates. I mean, the research is astounding on the impact of this one practice. And we're only getting that to 3% of our students. So we really have to figure out how to make education abroad more accessible to many, many more students.
Yeah. So Melissa, can you just give your kind of parting piece of advice for global business professionals out there?
Yes, I think my advice is don't take anyone's advice. Go see the world for yourself. And for students, it's important that they develop their own opinions and they see things for themselves. For business professionals, I think so often we go from the airport to the hotel and the hotel to the airport, and we miss the opportunity to truly engage and understand the environment in which we want to do business and what could make us more successful. So I really think engagement is key. Curiosity is key. Be as curious as you can. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. And I think people find others want to talk to you and they want to talk about themselves and they want to learn, if only we give them the opportunity to do that.
That's sage advice. Melissa, thank you for being on International Business Today.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Paula, for having me.
To our listeners, thank you for joining us for this episode of International Business Today. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Please know that your 5-star reviews mean the world to us, helping others discover the show. Until next time, stay curious and send questions. We'd love to hear from you.